In movies, we love an underdog, but not just characters. The long shot movies that, in spite of the lack of budget or costume wearing lead, draw us into the theater. Movies whose stories are compelling, whose dramas are real, and whose messages leave us inspired. I Can Only Imagine is the tremendous true story of Bart Millard, who came from a nowhere town in an extremely abusive home and used that pain of life and the hope that he found in Jesus Christ to create one of the most famous and popular songs of all time. But some people aren't impressed that this film is already a box office success and beat the second weekend of a $100 million Disney movie, A Wrinkle in Time. Well, let's see why. I'm Ben Davies, this is Pure Hollywood. I Can Only Imagine was made for $7 million and has already grossed over $17 million opening weekend. It was directed by the Irwin brothers, who, fun fact, directed my very first scene in any film I ever did, which was Courageous back in 2011. So shout out to you guys. Congratulations on another great project. I actually had the good fortune to meet Bart Millard at the Dove Awards when we were up for inspirational film for the movie I'm Not Ashamed. He is as genuine and as amazing as you actually could imagine in person. Now, people have absolutely loved this movie, bolstering over 96% on Rotten Tomatoes from the viewers, and even critics gave it a pretty big thumbs up by giving it 65%. So why would Vox release an article downplaying the success of this film? With a title, quote, "What this weekend's big box office surprise tells us about the faith-based movie audience," unquote, where they go on to say that this movie was catnip for its Christian themes and getting the audience to rally behind it, and say that the main reason for this movie's success is that it's about the song I Can Only Imagine. I guess Vox just cracked the code, so I guess the next studio or producers that want to have a low-budget movie become a success just do it about the Macarena Jolene or Smells Like Teen Spirit. Just base a movie on a famous song and it'll make millions at the box office. See how that goes. Or maybe it's because this movie is actually a beautiful, true story that stirs emotion. Not because of the song itself, but because of the life leading up to it. There's a scene in the movie that is also in the trailer where Bart Millard tells his life story. He then says, "I wrote this song in 10 minutes. He is then corrected by someone who tells him, "No, you didn't write this in 10 minutes. You wrote this over a lifetime." My viewer review is a 4 out of 5. This really is a beautiful and engaging story about a true underdog from the middle of nowhere with all the pressure in the world leading him away from his calling of music to find his way back, in spite of being completely abandoned by his mother and living in an unbelievably horrific and relentless abuse from his father. And it is captivating to watch a life started like that in such horror and pain going into the future and seeing this incredible purpose fulfilled in the hearts of millions inspired and changed because of the song that he was created from that experience. And as a critic, I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. I always say you have to judge a film on what it is, not what it isn't. Obviously, you judge a $100 million production differently than a movie that's trying to make a compelling story with $7 million. And this movie did so many things right throughout it, and I really credit the team that was behind it. The script is very well structured. When you know the end result, you know the song, everyone has heard the song, and you kind of know the beginning from the trailer that it's tragic. It is the story and the script that you string together that is so important to keep the audience moving forward and caring about each scene going on. They do this by showing the historical points, specifically he was here at this location, then here at this location, and goes back and forth, so you know it's more captivating when you know exactly where they were at what time. It's very cool the way they do that, as well as specifically creating scenes that are incredibly emotional and engaging. And this lands on some of the performances themselves, specifically Dennis Quaid, who gave one of the best performances of his career. He was absolutely haunting and wonderful in the role playing the father of Bart Millard. And one of my favorite stories to come out of this movie, Dennis Quaid gave an interview where he said this movie completely touched his heart so profoundly that he finished his own Christian song that he'd been working on for years for his mother's 91st birthday. It's an awesome interview. I encourage you guys to check it out and read that interview. My Faith and Values is a 5 out of 5. If there was anyone who deserved to be resentful, to give in to anger or malice and live a life of victimhood and move away from their true purpose and potential, it was Bart Millard. This story is a wonderful example of the Lord working all things to the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Without the pain, there would not have been the healing song that many have clung to. Even if you're not a Christian, this story shows the power of forgiveness and what that weight can do when it's finally lifted from you and what a burden it truly is in your life. I really hope Hollywood will continue to allow these kind of movies to make it to the big screen and even take a few elements from it and put those back into the movies that have been so removed for so many years. And in spite of what Vox says, this movie is not just a cheap drug to get people in the seats. The movie is great because the message is true and well done. And on top of that, it's messages that we are all hungry for and that are well done when they're finally put on screen. But if you don't want to go through the work of putting together a really good production and a compelling story, you could always just talk about social justice issues, immigration, and socialism, and then you'll probably get a pat on the back from every single critic as you walk in the door. I've been Davies, this is Pure Hollywood. And another fantastic news, you can now download the Rebel app and take me with you wherever you go to get exclusive content in the entire Rebel lineup.